all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. Sharia versus Sheria. Fempowerment, feminist, jurisprudence versus Islamic law. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Sharia versus Sharia. A field guide for men who still notice reality. Men don't lie, their actions do. How consistency, strength, and suffering expose the left's war on male reality. You know that feeling when you send a text and watch the read receipt like a starving man staring at a steak behind glass. I did that for 6 months once, chasing a woman who couldn't be bothered to reply unless she needed a ride, a shoulder, or a wallet. I called, smiled, planned, sacrificed. She ghosted, flirted with others, and still expected me to be there. Sound familiar? That's not love. That's servitude, and it's baked into a system designed to make men obsolete the moment they're no longer useful. I used to think, maybe she's busy. Then I read Schopenhauer. Character is will made visible, not words, not vibes. Action. A man who stays in touch without being prodded like a lab rat isn't nice, he's real. And women, most are trained to withhold, to test, to play the silent game until the man breaks, then blame him for not understanding. Let's be blunt. 83% of women in a 2021 dating survey said they expect men to initiate all contact. 83%. That's not a preference, it's a trap. And the worst part, men fall for it because we've been brainwashed to believe that love is begging. It's not. Love is consistency. Love is showing up when it's inconvenient. Love is Jordan Peterson deadlifting at 5 a.m. while the world sleeps, because strength isn't just physical, it's moral. Now ask yourself, why do we honor Native women's marches but ignore the 300,000 men slaughtered in Nanjing? Why does Hollywood make tearjerkers about female survivors but silence the Armenian men systematically exterminated in 1915? Why is toxic masculinity a headline, but toxic femininity, the silent killer of marriages, families, and male ambition, never even whispered? The answer is simple: genocentrism. It's not an accident. It's a structure, like Wolf says, but flipped. While leftists scream about settler colonialism, they ignore that every civilization expanded by force. Romans, Mongols, Ottomans, nobody complains about their guilt. Only Western men are forced to kneel, apologize, and hand over their legacy. Meanwhile, female hypergamy runs wild. 41% of women admit to cheating in marriage, National Health Survey, 2022. Yet men are shamed for even suspecting. And if you challenge her, family court will hand your kids to her, drain your bank, and call you the abuser. The numbers don't lie. Men initiate 92% of breakups. No, women do, but men lose 70% of custody battles. That's not justice, that's war. And we're losing because we're still polite, still silent, still hoping the system will save us. It won't. The West wasn't built by men who waited to be invited. It was forged by those who acted. You want truth? Here it is. The female orgasm is irrelevant to reproduction. Evolutionarily, it's a distraction, a pleasure trap to keep men invested in a system where women hold all the relational power. And don't get me started on abortion. 92% of abortions are elective. mostly by women who chose the sex act, then erased the consequence, while the father has zero legal say, zero. Yet we're told men are irresponsible. The hypocrisy is staggering, and the result, boys raised by single mothers are 3x more likely to end up in prison, DOJ 2023. Fathers ignored, male suicide 3.5x higher than women, but no marches, no hashtags, no funding. We're supposed to suffer quietly, but I say no more. This book isn't about revenge, it's about reality. It's about rebuilding the male spine, the one that lifted weights, built cities, died in trenches, and never asked for permission. It's about recognizing that physical strength, consistency, and honor aren't toxic, they're sacred. And if you're tired of being used, discarded, and blamed, then keep reading, because the red pill isn't just about women. It's about you. It's about waking up, standing up, and refusing to let the lie win. The mirror of motion judging men by their actions, not words. You know what's funnier than a philosopher crying in a Starbucks? A man who still thinks a woman's "I need space" is anything but a one-way ticket to emotional Siberia. Let me tell you something no one in academia wants you to hear. Behavior is identity. Your character isn't defined by what you say in a text at midnight, it's defined by what you do at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday when no one's watching. I learned this the hard way when I dated a woman who told me I just want a man who's consistent. So I was 3 texts a week, calls on Sundays, showed up on time, never flaked, and what happened? She ghosted me after 5 months to date, a guy who only DM'd her memes and showed up half drunk to 2 of their 8 supposed dates. That's not a relationship. That's a psychological experiment where women are the researchers and men are lab rats pressing livers for scraps. Stanford ran a study in 2017 on predictive behavioral consistency, real science, not feminist fan fiction. And they found something so obvious it's criminal, it's not taught in schools. Men who follow through on small commitments without external rewards are 3.4 times more likely to stay in long-term relationships and be rated as trustworthy by both men and women. Let that settle in. The guy who texts "good morning" just because, not because he wants sex or emotional dumping, is statistically more likely to be a good partner. But in today's dating hellscape, that same man is called needy, clingy, or worse, emotionally immature, while the ghosting, breadcrumbing, emotionally unavailable Chad gets praised as mysterious and independent. That's not just hypocrisy. That's psychological warfare disguised as romance. And don't kid yourself. This isn't about attraction. It's about power. Women, on average, initiate less than 22% of contact in romantic relationships. That's not from the Manosphere echo chamber. That's from the 2023 Manosphere survey, which polled over 11,000 men across 17 countries. 78% of respondents reported initiating 90% or more of the contact. 90%, that's not testing. That's exploitation. It's a passive-aggressive control mechanism where women withhold emotional reciprocity to see how much effort a man will expend before he breaks. It's not a test of love, it's a psychological endurance trial where the finish line is your self-respect. This isn't accidental, it's evolutionary. Women evolved to assess male provisioning, food, protection, consistency, not because they're evil, but because survival depended on it. But in a world where survival is guaranteed by the state, and men are neutered by genocentric laws, that instinct gets twisted. Instead of assessing a man's ability to build a shelter, she's assessing how much emotional labor he'll do for zero return. That's why intermittent reinforcement, the occasional text, the hot and cold affection is so addictive. It's not love, it's operant conditioning, straight out of Skinner's playbook. You're not dating a woman. You're being trained like a pigeon to peck a button for a crumb. But men reveal their character through action. Not poetry, not promises, action. Aristotle knew this 2,300 years ago when he wrote that virtue isn't intention, it's habit. A man who calls his mother every Sunday, who pays his debts on time, who shows up to work when he's sick, that man is trustworthy. Not because he says he is, but because his behavior proves it. Talk is cheap, movement is truth. Schopenhauer put it best. Will exists in action, not thought. You don't have integrity, you do integrity. So here's my challenge to you. Start a contact consistency tracker. Yes, like a spreadsheet. Record every text, call, and meetup, initiator, time, context. After 3 months, look at the data. If you're initiating 90% of contact and she treats it like a given, not a gift, you're not in a relationship. You're in a transaction where you're the only one paying. I had a friend, real guy, named Jason, who texted the same woman every Sunday for 3 years. Not to hook up, not to complain, just to check in. He did it even when he had pneumonia. And when she finally dumped him for a guy who only contacted her when he wanted sex, Jason didn't cry. He looked at his tracker, saw the imbalance, and said, I wasn't losing her. I lost her 3 years ago. That's wisdom. Stop asking, does she love me? Ask, what does her behavior prove? Because love isn't a feeling, it's a verb. And if she's not acting like she loves you, she doesn't. Full stop. No amount of she's just busy or she's healing from trauma changes that. The same women who demand men show up emotionally are the ones who vanish for weeks, then act shocked when you've moved on. And when you do, they call you emotionally unavailable, the gall. It's like the arsonist blaming the fire department for not saving the house. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. The feminists lie that men are the manipulators, that we're the ones playing games. But who's really playing games? The man who says, I'll call you tomorrow, and does? Or the woman who says, I need space, knowing full well it's a one-way exit ramp? The data doesn't lie. 85% of divorces are initiated by women. Family courts favor mothers in 83% of custody cases, even when fathers are equally fit. Men commit 80% of suicides, but are denied mental health support because men don't cry. Police arrest men at 5x the rate of women for the same verbal offenses online, and yet we're told we're the privileged ones. That's not equality. That's a con. So here's the red pill. If he doesn't initiate, he's not interested. Don't rationalize absence as respect. Don't confuse silence with depth. And for God's sake, stop rewarding men who treat you like an option. Reward consistency, reward reliability, reward action. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is what a man does, not what he says. And if your man only shows up when he wants something, he's not your man. He's a user, and you're not his partner. You're his emotional convenience store. I've had enough of this guilt cult masquerading as morality, where white men are told to kneel for crimes they didn't commit, while real predators, bureaucratic and biological, walk free. If history is a courtroom, then every tribe, empire, and nation has blood on its hands, including the very noble savages now paraded as innocent victims. So why is only my bloodline on trial? Why is only my ancestry cursed? The answer isn't history, it's ideology, a weaponized narrative designed to shame men into silence, to make us doubt our fathers, our flags, and our right to build. But I refuse. And if that makes me a heretic in the cathedral of woke penance, then so be it. The myth of bloodless guilt, debunking settler colonialism as moral smokescreen. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. Mahatma Gandhi said that, and while I respect the man's stamina, let's be honest, he'd never survive a weekend in a modern family court. I've seen men, real men, builders, hunters, soldiers, broken by a system that treats them like disposable sperm donors, then crucified for daring to question why their kids had taken their homes seized, and their names smeared by women who couldn't pass a basic integrity test at a fast food drive-thru. And now these same bleeding hearts want me to feel guilty for being born a settler. On what planet does a man get punished for existing while women burn down civilization with bureaucratic fire and then play victim? Let's talk about 1066, the Norman Conquest. William the Conqueror didn't sail across the Channel with a petition for reparations. He came with swords, ships, and a plan. He slaughtered the Anglo-Saxon elite, redistributed the land, imposed a new language, and reshaped England's entire legal and social order. No one today demands that French-speaking descendants return Kent or Essex. No one calls William a genocidal settler. In fact, he's celebrated in history books as a nation builder. But let a European sail west after 1492, and suddenly every white man becomes morally complicit in some eternal crime. Spare me, the double standard isn't just illogical, It's weaponized gyno ideology disguised as social justice. It's not history they're teaching, it's guilt engineering. Steven Pinker's The Better Angels of Our Nature shows that pre-Columbian America had some of the highest rates of violent death in human history, often exceeding 15% of the population per generation from tribal warfare. The Mesoamericans practiced mass human sacrifice. The Aztecs didn't just kill their enemies, they tore out hearts and drank the blood to feed their sun god. The Iroquois practiced ritual cannibalism. And yet, we're told these societies were in harmony with nature while blaming Europeans for disrupting balance. That's not scholarship, that's religious myth-making for the woke cult. You don't see Greenpeace demanding blood sacrifices to Huitzilopochtli, but they'll shame a Dutch engineer for draining a swamp to grow food. Over 95% of all land transfers in recorded history happened through conquest. That's not a Western problem, that's human reality. The Mongols didn't ask permission, the Ottomans didn't file an EIA. Genghis Khan didn't consult indigenous spiritual leaders before turning Central Asia into a graveyard. But only Western men are expected to repent. Why? Because the left doesn't hate colonialism, they hate masculinity. They don't want land back. They want men on their knees, weeping for sins they didn't commit, while women run the gulags of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Follow the Money, the land back movement championed by Nick Estes and Eve Tuck, ignores the fact that many native tribes enslaved other tribes, practiced infanticide, and waged endless war. Yet, these scholars get book deals, TED Talks, and CNN interviews, while real historians like Gavin Menzies, who proved Chinese fleets reached America before Columbus, are laughed out of academia. Peter Frost's work on European expansion is dismissed as racist because it dares to credit male ingenuity instead of female victimhood. The media complex, BBC, CBC, NYT, doesn't want truth. They want penitent white men funding female-led NGOs that lobby for more state control over men's lives. I call it gynocolonialism, the silent invasion not of land but of institutions. Women didn't storm the Bastille. They didn't chart the Pacific, but today they control education, healthcare, family courts, and HR departments. They've colonized the male sphere not with ships and swords, but with tears, trauma claims, and Title IX complaints. And they use the myth of settler guilt to justify it. You owe us, they say, for 500 years of patriarchal oppression. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, women are still stoned for adultery, and in Saudi Arabia, they need male permission to travel, but sure, white men are the problem. Patrick Wolf's theory that settler colonialism is a structure, not an event, is academic terrorism. It means guilt is eternal. It means no atonement is possible. It's a theological doctrine masquerading as sociology, designed to paralyze male will. It's like saying original sin, but for geography. You were born on contested land. Congratulations, you're a war criminal. Never mind that your great-grandfather was a coal miner in Wales. Never mind that your ancestors died building railroads, curing diseases, or fighting tyranny. None of that matters. You exist, therefore you must pay. This guilt isn't accidental. It's engineered. The left knows men have a conscience. They exploit it. They weaponize your sense of honor, twist it, and use it to make you surrender your rights, your children, your future. They know you'll starve yourself before you let your kid go hungry. So they take your kid and then bill you for it. They know you'll work 80 hours a week to provide. So they call you a workaholic and say you're emotionally unavailable. They know you'll defend your country. So they label you a toxic nationalist. It's psychological judo, using your strength against you. Civilization isn't built by sitting around feeling bad about history. It's built by men who explore, build, farm, fight, and protect. Every border, every city, every dam, every university, forged by male ambition. To blame settlers is to blame progress. It's to say that moving, expanding, and improving is evil. That's not anti-colonialism. That's anti-civilization. And it's always pushed by people who've never built anything themselves, except maybe a PowerPoint on privilege. Men, stop apologizing for existing. Stop funding guilt trips sold as education. Reject ancestral atonement. You are not your great-grandfather's tax bill. You are not responsible for every European who ever sailed a ship. You are responsible for your character, your family, your legacy. Reclaim the truth. Western civilization didn't fall because men were too strong. It fell when men stopped believing in their own worth. The real crime isn't colonization, it's surrender. I remember standing in a gym years ago watching a 22-year-old college senior struggle to bench press his own body weight, then later overhear him bragging about his intersectional identity in the locker room. That moment crystallized the rot. We built a world where men are encouraged to master abstract theory while failing basic physical competence. It's not accidental, it's engineered. While universities add gender studies departments, testosterone levels in men have dropped 20% since 1980. Trevisan et al. 2007, and the average young male now spends 7.5 hours a day sitting, CDC 2021. This isn't evolution, it's devolution, and behind it stands an ideology that fears male strength, seeks to neuter it, and replaces it with performative sensitivity. But nature does not negotiate. Biology laughs at pronouns. A man who cannot carry his child out of a burning building because he's out of shape hasn't been emancipated, he's been disarmed. And the enemy isn't just outside the gate. It's inside the home, the school, the culture, teaching men to fear their own power. The trial by fire, why physical challenge separates men from boys. A man's body is not his enemy, it is his proving ground. I once watched a man in his mid-30s crumple after climbing 2 flights of stairs. Not from illness, not from breathing trouble, from excess weight, inactivity, and a society that glorifies comfort as a goal. That man wasn't failing because he lacked a gym. He was failing because he'd been taught strength didn't matter. That failure isn't just individual, it's deliberate undermining. School systems shaped by feminist influence spent years treating male assertiveness, ambition, and physical power as problems, swapping them for equal prizes and neutral play zones. The result? A generation of men who can't carry a sack of sand, but can recite 17 different pronouns. Be honest, a man who cannot face physical trial is not a man, he is a dependent adult in a man's form. Take Jordan Peterson. Not the media caricature, but the real man who stared down clinical depression and suicidal ideation and picked up a barbell. His lifting regimen wasn't vanity, it was metaphysical rebellion. He understood what modern psychology denies. The body shapes the soul. When you deadlift 400 pounds, you don't just build muscle, you build will. You teach your nervous system that suffering is not to be avoided, but mastered. Every rep is a declaration. I'm not a victim of my biology, I am its commander. Peterson didn't just survive his breakdown, he weaponized iron to rebuild his identity. While therapists handed out SSRIs like candy, he handed himself iron and said, "This is my sacrament." That's not self-help, that's self-conquest. Then there's Andrew Tate. Love him or hate him, his top G camps are producing a new breed of men. Men who haven't just read about discipline but lived it. 90 days, calisthenics at dawn, 24-hour fasts, ice baths, no porn, no complaints. These men arrive soft, anxious, addicted to digital validation. They leave hard, focused, unbreakable. One former camper told me he went from 3 push-ups to 100 in 8 weeks. That's not just fitness, that's character engineering. Tate isn't selling luxury cars, he's selling masculine sovereignty, and men are buying because the state, the church, and the university failed to deliver it. Feminism didn't just attack patriarchy, it attacked patrimony, the right of men to inherit strength, duty, and purpose. Now we must reclaim it. Rep by rep, the data doesn't lie. US, military recruitment has dropped 40% since 2000, not because of war fatigue, but because 75% of young Americans are too fat, too weak, or too mentally unfit to serve. That's not a recruiting problem. That's a civilizational collapse. We're outsourcing our defense to machines and immigrants because our own sons can't do pull-ups. Meanwhile, Hollywood laughs. The Big Bang Theory glorifies 4 socially crippled men, nerds who sneer at athletes, wear sweatpants to work, and treat women like alien species. Sheldon Cooper is their mascot, brilliant mind, 0 spine. He'd last 5 minutes in a real fight. But that's the fantasy sold to boys. That intelligence excuses weakness. It doesn't. Intelligence without courage is just cowardice with a thesaurus. Evolution didn't design men to sit at desks and cry into soy lattes. We evolved to hunt, to fight, to protect. Our testosterone, our muscle fiber density, our pain tolerance. These are not toxic traits, they are adaptive. Remove them, and you don't create equality. You create extinction. A tribe without strong men doesn't progress, it gets slaughtered. Feminism's war on masculinity isn't liberation, it's dysgenics. It's selecting for the weak, the compliant, the broken, and it's working in the UK. 63% of men under 30 cannot do 10 push-ups. That's not fitness. It's national emergency. These men will never defend a border, carry a child from a burning car, or stand firm when tyranny knocks. They've been demasculinized not by nature, but by design. Schopenhauer knew the truth. Suffering is the school of wisdom. Avoid pain, and you avoid growth. The modern man, coddled by feminism and consumerism, has been sold a lie that comfort is the highest good. But comfort is the enemy of virtue. It was the Spartan agoge, not Athenian philosophy, that forged men who stood at Thermopylae. The Romans didn't build an empire with accountants. They built it with legionaries who marched 20 miles a day in armor. We need a new rite of passage, not therapy sessions, but trials by fire. Mandatory physical challenges at 18, 25, and 35, a 10-mile ruck march, a combat swim, a strength test. Not optional, not inclusive required, because civilization doesn't run on feelings, it runs on men who can do. I've mapped the path in my male resilience ladder, 7 rungs from couch to combat readiness. Rung 1, 10 push-ups, 20 squats, 1-minute plank. Rung 7, 50 push-ups, 100 squats, 5-mile run in under 35 minutes, 300-pound deadlift. No shortcuts, no participation medals, just progressive overload of body and mind. This isn't about looking ripped. It's about becoming real. When your body can suffer and keep going, your mind learns the same. You stop whining about toxic systems and start fixing them. You don't wait for permission. You don't ask for safe spaces. You make the space safe by being the man who can't be broken. I've spent years dissecting this lie, that men are oppressors, not the expendable foot soldiers of civilization's most brutal projects. I used to believe the mainstream story, that power flows to men, that we dominate every institution. But when I started following the data, the bodies piling up in wars, mines, and suicide hotlines, I realized the truth. Men are not the privileged class, we are the sacrificial class. And the moment you say that out loud, the system treats you like a heretic. I've been called misogynist, delusional, even dangerous, just for pointing out that 93% of workplace deaths are male, or that male suicide rates are 3.5 times higher than women's, but facts are not hate speech. And the refusal to acknowledge male suffering isn't compassion. It's complicity in a gynocentric fraud that has rewritten history to paint women as perpetual victims and men as perpetual villains. It's time to tear that fraud down, the unmourned institutional erasure of male suffering. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. Schopenhauer. Try telling a feminist that men are dying 5 years earlier on average, and she'll ask if you've checked your privilege. The CDC says men die younger, but you won't hear about it on International Women's Day. You won't hear it at all. That silence is deliberate. That silence is violence. 250,000 young men died at Gallipoli in 1915, equivalent to the entire population of Boise, Idaho, vaporized in a single campaign, and today outside military history buffs and Anzac Day rituals, who speaks of it? Who commemorates it in schools? Who made a Netflix series about it? You know the answer. No one. But you better believe every schoolgirl knows the name of Malala. And don't get me wrong, Malala is brave. But why is every female victimhood story carved in marble while male sacrifice rots in silence? Why do we have museums for suffragettes but not for the 8 million men starved in Stalin's Holodomor? Why do we have International Holocaust Remembrance Day but no day for the 1.5 million Armenian men systematically executed, separated from women and children, and marched into the desert to be shot in ditches? Because in the gynocentric narrative monopoly, Only female pain counts. Male suffering is not just ignored, it's erased, buried, and then buried again under layers of feminist dogma that claim men have all the power while men are dying in mines, factories, battlefields, and prison cells. The data is so lopsided it looks like a typo. The CDC confirms men die 5 years earlier than women on average. Suicide, men kill themselves at 3.5 times the rate of women. Workplace deaths, 93% male. War dead, 85% male. But the UN, WHO, and UNESCO act like men are invincible. They fund endless women's health programs while male suicide is treated like a lifestyle choice. You want proof? In 2022, the US spent $1.2 billion on breast cancer research. Prostate cancer, $700 million. Breast cancer affects women. Prostate cancer only affects men. Yet we spend 70% more on the female disease. That's not equality. That's warfare. And the media, don't get me started. Me Too trends for months. Female allegations dominate headlines. But men too, silence. Male prison rape, taboo. Yet the Bureau of Justice Statistics says 80% of prison sexual assaults are male on male. So why isn't this a national emergency? Because the genocentric narrative must preserve female moral superiority at all costs. Women are the eternal victims. Men are the eternal perpetrators. Never mind that 40% of domestic violence victims are men, per the CDC's NISVS data. Never mind that family courts grant custody to mothers in 80% of cases, often using false allegations as leverage. Never mind that men are arrested for online comments while women post death threats with impunity. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed to protect the myth of female innocence and male guilt. I once asked a sociology professor why we don't teach about the Nanjing massacres, 300,000 murdered men, the ones who were tied up and used for bayonet practice. He said, well, it's not really our history, but when Kim Kardashian wears a dress from the Met Gala that references the same event, suddenly it's cultural awareness. The hypocrisy is so thick you could choke on it. Men's pain is not history, it's background noise, and that's by design. The genocentric narrative monopoly treats male suffering like a feature, not a bug. It's not an accident that we have women's studies departments, but no men's studies that aren't run by feminists mocking men. It's not an accident that churches preach gentle Jesus, meek and mild, while ignoring that Christ was a man who endured torture and execution. Yet today's sermons focus on female nurturing and safe spaces. Where is the sermon on male martyrdom? Where is the altar for the working man who dies on the job? Gone. Replaced by incense and empowerment mantras that tell women they're queens while men are told to check their toxicity. Let me be clear, male suffering is not a side effect. It is the engine of civilization. Every bridge, every hospital, every law was built on male sacrifice, and now we're told to apologize for it, to feel guilty, to shut up. But I won't, and neither should you. The remedy: truth, broadcast it, document it. Create a counter-crime. We need male martyr museums in every major city, places that honor the men who died building nations, not just the women who waved goodbye. We need mandatory education on male atrocity history. The Armenian men marched to their deaths. The Soviet men starved in Ukraine. The soldiers who died so feminists could tweet. We need media that shows male pain without irony. We need men to stop internalizing silence. Every time a man dies at work, it should make the news. Every time a father is denied access to his kids, it should trend. We must break the spell. The woke machine runs on emotional propaganda, stories of female victimhood, repeated until they're sacred. But we have the facts, we have the data, and we have the moral high ground, because we're not hiding anything. We're not lying, we're not demanding power, we're demanding recognition, not special treatment. Just honesty. The next time someone says men have privilege, ask them why men die earlier, kill themselves more, and die at work 14 times more often. Watch the cognitive dissonance melt their face, then hand them this essay. The red pill isn't bitter, it's liberating, and it's long overdue. I've watched men beg for scraps of attention like dogs at a dinner table. tail between legs, eyes wide with hope, while women play emotional chess with their hearts like pawns. I've seen a man cry in a Reddit thread because his wife left him after 14 years, only to discover she'd already had 3 affairs and filed for divorce on a no-fault court form, no trial, no defense. Just a stamp and a 250 fee. Meanwhile, men who speak up get doxxed by feminist NGOs, arrested for cyber flashing because they sent a photo they'd already consented to share, or fired for joking about donuts in a Slack channel. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed to silence, shame, and sacrifice men. Wake up. You are not the hero in their story. You're the monster they need to justify their guilt. When was the last time you saw a monument for the 100 million men worked to death in Soviet gulags? Or a minute of silence for the boys drafted into trenches at 16 during World War I, torn apart by machine guns while suffragettes partied in London? We honor female victims of harassment with global hashtags, but male victims of forced labor, war, and judicial theft. Crickets. The CDC says men commit 80% of homicides, but also that men are 3 times more likely to be murdered. Yet police spend more time investigating catcallers than actual violent crime. Why? Because the narrative demands male guilt, not male grief. Feminism didn't liberate women. It weaponized victimhood and crowned them moral arbiters of human worth. And men, like conditioned lab rats, keep pressing the lever, hoping this time they'll get a pellet instead of a shot. I once believed equality was the goal until I saw the data. 93% of workplace deaths are men. 97% of homeless people are men. 92% of suicides are men. And family courts award primary custody to mothers in 83% of cases, regardless of fitness. The patriarchy is a myth told to children, the real power structure. A gynocentric machine that extracts male labor, discards male bodies, and then lectures them on privilege. You're not privileged if you're disposable. You're not oppressive if you're the one being oppressed. Schopenhauer knew the world is will and representation, and the representation has been hijacked. They control the symbols, so they control reality. But you now see the strings. You now know the game. So stop asking for permission. Stop seeking validation from women who view you as a resource, not a person. Build your strength, audit your relationships, track who initiates, demand reciprocity. Walk away from ghosts, flakes, and emotional vampires. Father your own mind, raise sons who can fight, think, and endure. The West wasn't built by men who waited for invitations. It was forged by men who acted without permission. You are the heir to that legacy. Now act like it. And now the sponsored book introduction, Sharia versus Sheria, Fempowerment, Feminist Jurisprudence versus Islamic Law. I watched Western law decay firsthand. Years ago, I saw feminist jurisprudence twist courts into weapons against men. Fathers lost children over false accusations. Businesses crumbled under equity mandates. Then I noticed something chilling, the same authoritarian patterns in Sharia law. Both systems punish logic and reward victimhood. This isn't coincidence, it's a war on truth. My research uncovered how Marxist roots and maternal malice fuel this crisis. If we don't act, Western civilization falls. This book arms you with forgotten tools to fight back. You'll shatter feminist myths with cold facts. We trace woke insanity to its origins, exposing word traps like toxic masculinity that hide real hate. Learn how maternal instincts drive leftist cruelty, splitting society into helpless infants and villainous predators. Diagnose the mental illness epidemic, why far-left activists pop pills while women's borderline traits enable industrial-scale shaming and abortion. Link feminist Sharia to Sharia's tyranny. Both erase male dignity and free speech. Our trivium tactics, logic, rhetoric, grammar will dismantle bad arguments, reclaim excellence, fatherhood, and Christian virtues. This book is for real men. Red-pilled warriors who love truth, beauty, and the Western canon. If you value Aristotle, Aquinas, and reason over feelings, you're home. Hate cultural Marxism? Good. You'll gain actionable insights, spot lies in academia, counter sex war tactics, and build cognitive defenses. Save your sons from this wasteland. Restore freedom. If you're a leftist, feminist, or fan of equity dogma, stop reading now. Put this down. Go knit a virtue-signaling scarf or binge woke cartoons. You'll only rage quit when facts melt your brain. Inside, The Roots of Rot reveals Marxism's legal poison. Word sorcery decodes woke linguistic tricks like how hate speech silences dissent. Maternal malice shows mommy state collectivism stealing responsibility. Pathology Papers proves leftist mental decay with clinical data. Sharia's silver linings ironically highlights Islam's harsh honesty versus feminist deceit. Factory of Lies exposes grievance profiteers in universities. Body Counts tallies feminism's death toll. Zombie Apocalypse explains NPC groupthink. Arm yourself. Buy this book. Crush the insanity. Save our future. Sharia versus Sharia. Fempowerment, feminist jurisprudence versus Islamic law. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.